Hello, hello, YouTube. Welcome. I am excited to officially be launching this channel. So, if you are joining me live, will you say hello? And if you are joining later in the replay, go ahead and let me know in the chat. Just comment replay. All right. So, welcome. And I'm going to talk about the 5 main hurdles that you must go through, that you must break through in order to experience personal freedom. Okay. So give me a like if you're out there and give me a replay if you're watching in the replay. Um, Quick introduction. So I am Melanie Berkey. I am a life and leadership coach, and I work with driven Christian women. I have a program called the Journey to Personal Freedom, and it was all based in my own experience, and I have had the honor and the privilege of coaching women over the last 5+ years through these same steps. So after coaching so many women through this same process, you start to see commonalities, you start to see common breakthroughs, and you also start to see common pitfalls and just common myths, common distractions that keep us delayed in our breakthrough to personal freedom or keep us from it completely. All right. And so I don't know about you, but I like a nice, clear, precise path. Right. And I won't tell you that personal growth is going to be linear and precise, but stick with me to the end because I'm going to go over at least 5 of the hurdles to focus in on and to keep you from getting distracted on the things that you think are a real problem but aren't actually. Okay. So I'm just going to jump right in. I am all about let's just get to it. So, first off, that I see is treating symptoms. Hey, so glad to see you. Thanks for joining in. The number one thing that I see is treating symptoms instead of the real issue. All right. So here's what I mean by that. So many times, and this was also myself as well. For years, I have always loved personal growth. Seriously, I grew up, my mom listened to John Maxwell for as long as I can remember. Joyce Meyer, all the things. So as a kid, I was immersed in personal growth and personal development. And as I started to have my own business and as I started to really work through some of the issues, the internal issues that I didn't even know I had yet, I went to all the books, right? All the self-help books, all the things, all the gurus, all the coaches, all the things. And I thought, okay, this is why I'm stressed. This is why I'm overwhelmed. This is why I'm having a hard time connecting with that staff member. This is the problem, right? Maybe this book will have the answer. Maybe this program, maybe if I sign up for this mastermind, that will help. And I will say all of those things are great and they have great nuggets. And I took a lot of the concepts, but for some reason, the concepts, hey, Christina, so glad to see you. Thanks for joining live. But for some reason, the concepts were not, they were more just of an action. They were more just a behavior. They weren't actually fixing anything internally with me. If anything, it felt like walking on eggshells still, right? Oh, I got to do that right. Oh, am I doing that concept right? Oh, and it was just incredibly exhausting. Not to mention the stress was still there. The burnout was still there. All of that. I thought for a while it was time management, right? Well, okay, maybe if I just figure out my schedule, maybe if I just be a little bit more focused here, maybe if I streamline this or that. Is any of this sounding familiar? Put a 1 in the comments if you have ever been guilty, right? Past, present, of treating symptoms instead of the real issue, right? So many times we say, "Oh, I just need more self-care," or "Oh, I just need a 4-day work week," or "Oh, I've just reached a high level of success and people don't understand, right? My business is at, or my business is in this season, this busy season, right?" But I don't know about you, but I know for me and for a lot of the women that I've coached, that wasn't it. Because even when that season passed, the stress was still there, the burnout was still there, the relational tension was still there, right? All of that, it didn't seem to matter. It didn't seem to go away, no matter what new concept I or what new book I was reading, all of that stuff was good and it helped a little bit on the outside, but internally it did not do the trick. All right, I'm seeing some ones in the comments for sure. Thank you. I always love honesty, right? So, number two, that's number one, treating symptoms instead of the root issue. And if you're like, oh, yeah, I'm just seeing that for the first time, I am totally treating symptoms. I didn't know these were symptoms. Well, what is the root? Listen, we all started somewhere, right? We all started with that. And so there's no shame, no blame in this. But I just want you to maybe start to focus on who maybe this is a symptom and maybe this is something a little bit, there's something, there's a root of it. There's something a little bit deeper. All right, number two, many times one of the hurdles that all of us, zero of us are exempt is our past. Our past is dictating our present. Some of us consciously, some of us unconsciously. If you haven't done the vulnerability work, I know, ladies, I wish, and gentlemen, maybe gentlemen are watching, I wish I had a better answer for you. I wish vulnerability was not the answer. Believe me, I went through it kicking and screaming, which actually just made everything a lot more tense, a lot more stressful, and a lot more rigid, all the things. But if you haven't done the vulnerability work of actually looking at your past and healing from it, whether you have had big T trauma or little T trauma, as they say, we do not go through a broken, fallen world unscathed. All of us, every single one of us, no one is exempt. And honestly, sometimes that has kept a lot of my clients stuck to where they didn't think that the things that they were in their past were bad enough or big enough. And so they didn't respect it. They didn't treat it as such. They didn't show themselves compassion with it because maybe they didn't have capital T trauma, right? Well, listen, we all have to process our pasts. And if you haven't done that vulnerability work of actually looking at your past, looking at your story and how you're seeing it, right? Allowing yourself to feel it and process those feelings, right? Allowing God's perspective in on it and letting Him heal it and then rewriting it from His perspective, then false stories are going to continue to dictate your current life. Right? That's the unconscious part. If we don't want to look at our past, then it's going to keep repeating itself. And that is the opposite of what most of us want, right? And so if you haven't gone and done, just looked at your past, rewrote your story, let God in on it, let Him see, let Him show you His perspective on it, then it's going to actually keep repeating itself. So let me know in the comments. All right. Number two, if you have realized, ooh, yeah, that past, that all those memories, right? They actually keep showing up until I actually turn and look at them. If I keep running away from them, they are going to keep chasing me and it gets exhausting, right? So much of us, myself included, has spent time and energy running from my past, right? Trying to manage all the emotions, trying to keep them at bay, stuff them over here, move them over there. Like, let's just keep moving, right? Spent so much time and so much energy trying to manage the shame, manage emotions, just try to push through rather than actually turn, look at it, right? Do the vulnerability look of processing it and letting God heal it. And I will tell you, until you do that work, it is a huge hurdle. It is like running through life with suitcases, right? And backpacks. And as soon as you turn and you do that vulnerability work, oh, you have freedom already, right? When you just drop the bags, let God heal it, right? When you just let it go. And I know that sounds simple. It's definitely a process, but it is worth it. It is 100% worth it. So that is number two. Let me know in the comments if if you've ever seen your past repeating itself in the present, right? Or you've ever noticed, oh yeah, I know exactly where that's coming from. I didn't want to look at that. And so now it's going to make me look at it. That's number two. So number one, the number one hurdle, keeping people from personal freedom, is treating symptoms as if instead of the root issue, right? Treating symptoms instead of the real issue. Number two is our past. Each and every one of us. I had a great childhood and I still got to process things from my past. Each and every one of us have that. And then number three, let's move forward. Number three is a big one, and it is the performance mentality. All right. What I mean by performance mentality, many of us type A driven women, right? High achievers, we overemphasize doing. We overemphasize action and productivity and all of that. Now, it's not a bad thing. And I love that about us. I love our passion, I love our drive. Listen, we are the ones that get stuff done. Can I get an amen, right? We get stuff done, and I do believe that God made us that way. The difference though is what our motive is coming from. When it's coming from fear, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, then it's going to be like we're constantly on a rat race and we constantly have to do, and we have a moving finish line, right? It doesn't matter what new milestone we hit. It doesn't matter how much we accomplish in the day. It doesn't matter because it's never enough, right? This performance mentality plays really closely with the not enoughs game. It is too tempting, right? To just, when we start getting our value and we start getting our worth tied to how much we can get done in a day, or how far our businesses can go, or how much external success, then we get on this hamster wheel, and I'm telling you, it's not worth it. We can absolutely do it from a fear-based motivation, or we can do it from a love-based motivation. And here's the big piece, right? Overemphasizing doing, it stems from the not enoughs, right? I like to call it like a vertical measuring stick, right? Like we're looking outside of us and we jump into comparison mode. We look outside of us, right, at the people around us, at what the gurus are saying, at what the experts are saying, what social media is saying, even what our friends or our parents are saying. And we're constantly, if we're not careful and we're not aware of this pitfall, then we're constantly putting ourselves on this vertical measuring stick, seeing how we add up to the people around us, see how our kids are doing compared to how we are doing as parents based on how our kids are doing, and all the things, right? And it is exhausting. But for most of my clients, honestly, they have some of that, but it stems even deeper. It's actually a comparison with themselves. The shoulds, right? The have tos, the unrealistic expectations, the just being overly hard on ourselves, right? The perfectionism, all of that, right? Even if you are achieving wonderfully outside, right? Internally, you could have just won the biggest award ever and not feel proud, right? It doesn't feel good enough. Yes, Jeanette, no more shoulds. Amen. Yes. And so it's a comparison with ourselves, the shoulds, the perfectionism. And one way to check this, right, is where have you, right? Again, in our past, have we gotten our significance? Have we gotten admiration? Have we gotten positive attention from all the things that you can do? Because many times, right, if we haven't processed through our past and we think, right, like that we're only significant, we're only important because how much we can do, then we fall into this pressure of having to keep it up. And there it is, right? There is the hamster wheel. There is the moving finish line. There is the not enoughs. And none of it's all just a story. It's all just a lie. And so these things definitely intertwine with each other, because a lot of us have a lifetime, right, of evidence, a lifetime of experiences that have pointed us to this lie that says, okay, I'm only valuable, I'm only worthy if I can do a lot, or if I can accomplish a lot, and if I can have all these external roles and do them well, then I'm enough. But honestly, right, we know that that's a lie, but we don't always know how to get off of it. So let me know in the comments. Number three, right, was the performance mentality. Has anyone other than me ever fallen into the performance mentality, played the tango with the not enoughs? It is a It is not a fun place to be, and it is a complete lie. All right, let me know. We have to detach, right? That worth and that value just being. Because when you came into this world as a baby, right? If you've ever seen a newborn, they do not do anything. Actually, they kind of take quite a bit. And we love them, right? Just for being. And we could just sit there and admire them and just honestly just soak all of that up. And they haven't done a thing to quote unquote earn our love. They're just lovable. And that is you and that is me too. We just have a lifetime of experiences and a lifetime of stories that if we don't keep them in check, tell us the lie. Right. And so it can be really challenging, especially the longer those things have gone on. It can be really challenging to cut those things off. So that is a big one. And it's one thing I can tell you from experience. It is one thing to understand it, and it is another thing to fully live it out. It is two completely different things. One thing to understand it. Yeah, of course I'm worthy. Of course I'm valuable. But yet, how many times do we find ourselves, oh, we're in burnout mode again. We're in striving again. Well, we get to go back and we get to look at all those stories and we get to cut them. All right, Christina, always. Yes, 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 yes. Good. All right. So just to repeat, let me know. So number one, right? Number one was treating symptoms instead of the real issue. Number two was our pasts. Number three was this performance mentality and getting confused, believing the lie that we are only valuable and we are only worthy and significant based on how much we can do and achieve and accomplish and all the things that are outside of us, instead of being enough just as we are. Because the truth is, we don't have to do another thing. If you never did another thing for the rest of your life, your value doesn't change. Your lovability doesn't change. God cannot love you any more or any less than he already does. I know, it's like mind blowing, but it is true. It's not our value that changes. It is our beliefs about our value that changes. And that's what we get to pay attention to. All right, moving on to number four. Number four is and this goes along with number three, but it is our incorrect beliefs about ourselves and about God. So one of the biggest hurdles that I see, especially with clients that I work with, is their belief, their relationship that they have with themselves, right? And all of that is so mingled in with the relationship we have with God, right? Because if God says all the amazing things about us, right? We are loved, we are chosen, we are his workmanship, like we are his masterpiece, like fearfully and wonderfully made. If he says all of those things about us and we don't see those things, then we don't only have a problem with us, we have a problem with God, right? Because it is truth. And so incorrect beliefs about ourselves and about God is the fourth hurdle to freedom. Because so many people, right? The incorrect beliefs, we are way too hard on ourselves. We hold ourselves to these unrealistic expectations. And so many times that is tied up and it is tied up with our that performance mentality, right? And believe it or not, we wind ourselves up so tight that it actually gives us less freedom, right? By trying to do and trying to behave the correct way, right? And trying to like do all the right things, kind of like I was saying at the beginning of the live here, when we are trying to follow what the books say and follow what the gurus say and follow what the social media says and like do all that stuff, we aren't actually able to live as us. We aren't able to be authentically us. We aren't able to have the freedom, right? Have you ever looked at a kid and just watched kids play? They do not care about what other people think about them. They do not give two craps about anything, right? They are just playing and they are just living and they are just free. And I think that's such a beautiful picture that sometimes we all need to remember, right? Instead of taking ourselves so seriously and just being silly and living free. Because that, right, is how God sees us. He just loves watching us be, just like when we look at that newborn, right? And so when we put these unrealistic expectations on ourselves and we we put ourselves on this hamster wheel and we start feeling like we have to perform, and we feel like we have to do, and we're so hard on ourselves, it actually winds us up so tight that it perpetuates more of what we don't want, because then we get stressed out, right? Because then we get burnt out, and then we don't start treating the people around us the way we want to. It all starts coming out sideways, which is the last thing from freedom. The harder we try to be free, right? The harder we work for it, the less that likely it is of actually happening. And then along with that, right? Insecurity, the beliefs that we have about ourselves. So many times we have this external armor on ourselves, and we have this like, yeah, it's just an armor, right? We keep our walls up, and we keep our armor on so we don't get hurt, and we act like that doesn't affect us, and I'm just going to keep pushing through, and I'm going to keep pushing my emotions down, and I don't care what this person said, and I'm just going to put my head down and work harder. Like, when we do all of that, right? But we don't do the internal work. So on the outside it might look one way, but internally, right? We are soft, and that's okay. That is 100% okay. So many times I talk to women about this, where it's like a gopher. Like, have you ever walked on like a lawn that actually has a tunnel underneath it? And so when you go to like actually step on it, it completely implodes on itself. So many times, if we don't do these things, right, process our past and allow God to show us his perspective, right? And actually receive and believe those beliefs about ourselves that he says, right? Then all of the underneath, the fear of not being enough, right? All of that can actually come out. We try to go around it by putting on this armor, but what's really happening, right, is internally it's soft. Internally it hurts. Internally we're broken until we actually get that internal healing. And so that is also with this, with these thoughts, these incorrect beliefs that we have about ourselves, and they're always tied, right, to our beliefs about God as well. And so that's number 4. Let me know in the comments if number 4 has ever hit you, right? Incorrect beliefs about ourselves and incorrect beliefs about God and his character. And I will tell you this, that is not a yes or a no question. It is to what extent, right, do we actually believe the things that God says about us? And not just about us, but about him, about all the things, right? Because when we can't say, I can say God cares about me, but honestly, I don't think I really understand truly how much he cares about me. I know he loves me, but I don't think because I have grown so much more and more and more over how much he actually loves me, that I know by now that I'm starting to learn more. He's starting to like take me through deeper levels. But the truth is, I have no clue. And so it is, to what extent do we believe these things about ourselves and to God? Because they are constantly growing. And believe it or not, here is number 5. Number 5, the 5th hurdle to actually gaining and experiencing and transforming with personal freedom is the fear of freedom. Because not a lot of people realize, but so many times we don't actually give ourselves permission to receive the freedom, right? Like, so many times we put our fear, right? Like our we don't actually trust ourselves. We don't actually trust God enough. We are afraid we're going to go too far. We might become too prideful if we start enjoying ourselves and loving ourselves and knowing our strengths and being confident in them. Or we might be too lazy, right? If we actually let God do what he does best and actually allow him to do the heavy lifting, right? And so we make it harder than it needs to be. Or maybe we're being too selfish, right? By loving ourselves and focusing on ourselves and trying to heal ourselves, right? there's so many things where we know what the problem is, but we're almost afraid that, oh, if I truly receive that, I'm going to swing it too far the other direction, which is a lack of self-trust, but ultimately a lack of trust in God. And so not trusting ourselves, AKA trusting God in us, can lead to this fear of freedom. Another one is under this fear of freedom is peace, right? Like I have so many clients, and myself included, where we actually fight peace. We actually fight it because the circumstances around us feel ridiculous. And we feel, right? If we take our eyes off God, we feel like we should jump out there and we should start, taking care of some of this stuff, we want to be in control of all this stuff. But really, right, God is like offering us his peace. And there's so many times where we actually feel at peace, but the peace feels uncomfortable because we're not used to it. And so we actually have it, but then we give it away, right? We resist the peace because, oh my goodness, this is too easy. Oh my goodness, I should be doing something, right? And so we actually fight it. Another one is resisting joy. How many of you have found yourself waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? So good things are happening, and instead of actually receiving all of that joy, that freedom, and that, like, all of that yumminess, that goodness, instead of doing that, we just start waiting for the other fear to drop. Christina says that fear of being too much, whatever, is so real and deep. Yes, absolutely, right? There's programs and there's stories that we absolutely get to work through so that we can break through and receive the freedom that is laid out right in front of us. And so we have these stories, right? It's too easy. We fight the peace, we fight the joy. So that is number 5. I'm going to go through them all again, and you let me know in the comments, okay, which one really hit home for you. Number 1 was treating symptoms instead of the real issue. Number 2 was our past. Number 3 was this performance mentality, believing that our worth and our value and our enoughness is tied to how much we can do, or external roles that we have, or success that we've achieved. Number 4 was incorrect beliefs about ourselves. And with that, incorrect beliefs that we have about God and his character, because those two things, it's very hard to detach those two things. It's hard to believe, right? All the things that God has to say about us, and yet at the same time, not treat ourselves very well. Not speak to ourselves very well, right? Like have that negative self-talk, listen to that inner critic. And then number 5 was actually the fear of freedom. And all of these things I have seen, if like there's this overarching thing of control so many times. And that's, I guess, number 6, but really it's intermingled throughout all of these things, is control. We really struggle to surrender control. It's actually making us, we hold on, right? The slower we walk, the slower we can move towards freedom, the slower, like, everything is just slower and harder. So releasing control, and that it's a big thing. It is not giving up, but it is releasing control. So it's like surrendering, right? And that is actually the beginning, the first steps of freedom. So I don't know about you, but like I said at the top of this hour, I love a 1, 2, 3 step guide, right? So instead of spinning your wheels or trial and error, or right, spending time working on a solution to the wrong problem, jump into my program. I have a program called The Journey to Personal Freedom, where we hit all 5 of these, all 5 of these and more. Also, all 5 of these could go in a lot deeper. Like they could have sub points to each one. And so it is a guided path, right? A guided path to freedom. And so instead of like tiring yourself out, going from one book to the next book and all the things, right? Jump into the program for a guided tour to freedom. Also, right, you can just kind of take a guided, I am taking a guided group through my program starting September 8th. So if you actually want to go through the program And that serves as great accountability, right? Going through week by week, module by module, step by step with a whole group of women that are going through the same things, jumping over the same hurdles, punching through those same hurdles, then we start September 8th. All right. And you can DM me. You can find me on Facebook and you can DM me for more information. I would love to chat with you more this week, maybe next week, and jump into the program starting the 8th. All right. Other than that, I would love leave a comment on your biggest takeaway. All right. So, like this video, leave a comment on your biggest takeaway. And if you know a friend or someone else that would really enjoy it, then share this video with them. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining live. And next week, starting September the 1st, a week from today, I'm going to have the very first video go out. Okay. So reach out. I would love to stay in touch. I would love to see if you are a great fit for the September 8th start. And I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.